more set of sentences that I would like to do some translation of. And these are found at the end of chapter 4. In chapter 4, the textbook introduces a different verb. So you had your verbs like Lego that follow that o, ace, a, omen, ete, usen. There is another verb that's really important to learn off by heart, and it's this verb here, eīmī, eīmī. And it goes like this: eīmī, esten, esmen, este, esin. Now, out of the two of these, I would say that this one and this one are probably the two that get mixed up the most for students. But what is helpful to notice is that in the plural form, so this is eīmī, I am, you are, estin, he, she, or it is. When we move into the plural form, the endings of these forms are actually the same as what we learned in our other primary paradigm. Men, ste, or men, te, rather, men, te, sin. Men, te, sin. And if you can remember that, men, te, sin, then hopefully you won't get these two muddled up. Men, te, sin. Because we already know o, ace, a, omen, ete, usin, men, te, sin. And this follows the same pattern, men, te, sin. The other thing that I find helpful when learning this particular paradigm is when I learned it to a song, and I think it was the Mexican hat dance. Eīmī, estin, esmen, este, esin. Eīmī, estin, esmen, este, esin. You may find that helpful or you may not, but coming up with some sort of way of actually memorizing this particular verb and its paradigm is going to be really important. So this here that I've got on the screen is the present active indicative, remember, present tense, active voice, indicative mood of eīmī. I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. Okay, back to our sentence. eīmī. eīmī, we know from over here, means I am. I am. This is our main verb, and I am the subject. So the subject here is embedded or encoded inside the verb. I am. Something interesting happens in Greek when you use this particular verb, this eīmī verb. When you see one of these forms, eīmī, estin, esmen, este, esin, when you see one of these verbs, what you almost need to do is think about it as an equal sign, an equal sign. And why I think that's important is because even though I've told you in the past that the nominative case equals the subject, that is true. But in this instance, I've already told you that I am the subject of this sentence. I am. Yet, we have something else that's in the nominative case in this sentence. And so the reason we think about eīmī as an equal sign is because essentially what is happening is I am the subject of this sentence. I is the subject of the sentence, rather. But I'm going to actually tell you something about the subject that is almost equal to the subject, but it's not actually the subject of the sentence. It'll make more sense as I go along. This word here, artos, means the bread, and that's in the nominative case. And this here, tes zoes, we know from last week, means the life, and it's in the genitive case. Genitive case. This is a feminine verb, noun, which is why it's got these feminine endings. So this part here means the bread of life. The bread of life. Is the bread of life the subject of the sentence? No, it's actually not the subject of the sentence. It's what we call in Greek the predicate nominative. What I mean by that is, it is very much connected to the subject, I, but it's not actually the subject of the sentence. It is telling us something about the subject. It is asserting something about the subject or predicating the subject. Oops. It's predicating the subject. Sorry, I've done it again. Let me clear these markings. So the sentence is, I am the bread of life. I am the bread of life, or the bread of life I am. That could make sense, but we wouldn't really write that in English. So we need to, when we're writing our translation, to offer a smooth English translation. This next one is probably a little bit clearer because we've actually got two words here that are in the nominative case. Two words that are in the nominative case. The first word here, theos, means God. God. The second word means love. Agape means love. And here we have one of our eİmī forms. So we've got eİmī, estin, esmen, este, esin. eİmī, I am, you are, estin, he, she, or it is. So if I was to use our equals sign, like I said to you before, essentially what this verb is doing is it's saying these two things are equal to one another. But how do I know which one of these is the subject of the sentence? Is it love is God, love equals God, or is it God is love? God is love. How do I know which one, if they're both in the nominative case, how do I know which one is the subject of the sentence? We ask a series of questions. Is there a pronoun in this sentence? There's no pronoun in this sentence. A pronoun meaning he, she, it, etc. That, this, these are all pronouns. No, there's no pronoun in this sentence. Is there an article? Yes, theos has an article. So I know that theos is going to be the subject of the sentence. Now imagine that theos didn't have an article. Then I would go to the next question. Is there a proper noun, so a name? And you could argue that theos is a type of name. And so perhaps you could then make the argument that this is a name, and so theos should be the subject. But if you were to say, look, I actually don't think theos is a name. I think you could also have a god, small g. You would then go to the fourth question, which noun comes first in the sentence? And again, it's theos. So theos is going to most likely be the subject. If you're really not sure and you can't answer any of these questions, there's no pronoun, no article, no proper name, and when you look at this, the word that comes first, and it just doesn't make sense for that to be the subject, then you go to step 5. Does the context of this sentence help you to work out which one is the subject? Again, this is what we call the predicate nominative. Theos is the subject of the sentence. It's in the nominative case. It's the subject. And agape is in the predicate position. It is asserting or telling us something about the subject. God is love.